Hello guys, we have one of the most awaited reworks of all time. Tassadar's rework was initially brought up after one of his previous reworks, and they said that when they were reworking Tassadar to make it to where he couldn't give shields to everyone back in like 2016, they said that we may end up looking at reworking him again to be more like a mage. Then further again, they reworked him and adjusted talents and did things, and then they said again in his previous rework back in like 2018 that we're still working on his major rework, but we wanted to change some abilities and talents around to give you guys something fun to play with until we finish, which is when he got his major auto attack redesign, all of the extra damage on that, not redesign, but just auto attack build came into existence. And because everyone keeps mentioning that they want Tassadar to be more like his lore, let's talk a little bit about what is his lore. So Tassadar is a High Templar. He was one of the first of the Protoss that met the Terran when the Terran were fighting the Zerg. And Tassadar didn't really want to kill the Terran. Tassadar was more like, hey, let's let them fight it out, and then if the Zergs start winning, then we'll just blow up everything. Because he didn't really want to kill another race that seemed sentient, that seemed to be able to make their own decisions, and he actually probably could have prevented the entire StarCraft wars between the Terran and the Protoss before they even started. But they ended up just deciding, no, we're not going to do that, and they demoted Tassadar and then just killed a bunch of Terran and started a endless war between the three factions. And so Tassadar ended up, eventually he still moved up in the ranks and all that. Tassadar is one of the few people that learned how to use the Dark Templar's energies as well without actually becoming any sort of the dark side. He's a pretty cool individual in game. I'm not going to get too much further into the lore, but put simply, he's a very powerful Dark Templar. A very powerful High Templar that has some of the Dark Templar abilities. A High Templar in StarCraft was a unit that had things that were all about zone control and all about disruption. So it wasn't crazy to see that Tassadar had electricity on the ground and created walls, creating that zone control and that disruption. But with all that being said, Tassadar's rework is here. He's officially called a ranged assassin and not a support anymore, and you can see that some of his abilities are a little different. With that being said, let me go through all of his abilities and talents in order as if we've never seen this hero before and as if he's a new hero. So I'm going to move him into here. I will mention that I'm currently on a new skin for him, so this is not the default skin that you will get by picking up Tassadar. If you already own Tassadar, this is not what you will see, and a lot of the things will be changed, but I did want to show off this skin as well because it is a new skin and it is pretty cool. So, let's start off by seeing what his passive is. Resonance Beam. Tassadar's basic attack is a channeled beam that slows by 10%. While channeling, your basic attack damage and mana regen increase by 25% a second to a maximum of 100%. At full charge, gain an extra 3 mana every second. This bonus is lost after 3 seconds of not channeling. So it's kind of the old talent that they used to build up before, and it's a mix of some of the newer things where your auto attacks will gain back some of your mana. This is part of a quest before his or in his latest iteration, and also before his rework, the increased channel beam that increased the slow. So now if we channel, it should grow, and you can see the damage portion of it is growing, and it's visually growing as well, so people that are not the Tassadar will also be able to see what it looks like when it's at the highest amount. As far as DPS, let's set this to level 20 so we can get a decent idea of what that is. The DPS was 112. I had 1600 health, so with auto attacks, you would have been able to kill someone in 16 seconds. That's not unreasonable. Let's take a peek at level 20. About 200 DPS at level 20. Again, about 16 seconds you'd be able to take out another Tassadar, assuming that nothing went awry. And so that is his passive. You can see an indicator of how much it's charged up over here. And again, it doesn't need to be channeled the entire time. You can let go, and you have 6 seconds to even hit just once. So if you have to move around a little bit and then go for another fight, you can certainly go for that. I don't really like the beam. I think it's a cool thing because it does bring a lot of Protoss units into a single hero. But I'm not a big fan of it because you can't stutter step and get a lot of value and reposition like a lot of auto attackers can, which makes it to where he's just not an auto attacker. He's a mage. But even a lot of mages should be doing a little bit of stutter stepping if they can, so it's a little unfortunate. I will point out, though, that even stutter stepping, you can do about half of your DPS because the DPS pops up rather slowly, so I was still able to keep about half of my DPS up while stutter stepping. You can also do a faster DPS or a faster stutter stepping like this, where you're like using auto attack in A. But just know that there is an animation that he has to do before his stutter step goes off. It's not like Tychus, you can stutter step super fast. Okay, with that being said, let's go over his abilities, and then we'll go into his talents, and we'll go from there. Number 1 is Shock Ray. Channel a beam of psionic energy, dealing 614 damage and slowing people in a line by 25% for 2 seconds. So, this beam looks like this. You channel, and then you do a beam all the way down. It's a pretty straightforward thing that doesn't do anything too wild. It's just essentially a slow moving beam that slows. But remember that this is a channel, so while you're doing this, you can't just, like, for example, your W, where you activate it and immediately leave. Wait, I'm so sorry. Does this do what I think it does? No, okay, never mind. That would have been really funny, but no. So, like this, I can activate it and immediately move. This one, I cannot immediately move. It is a channeled ability. I'm stuck as I'm channeling that all the way down. So, because this channels all the way down in this direction, you should probably make sure that if you are hitting someone at max range, you need to lead the shot a little bit. So if this guy is running over here, you're probably going to need to aim it like this so you can hit him, because it does take a while to reach that. But there are also some other tricks to it. So that is your Shock Ray. Your Psionic Storm. Create a Psionic Storm at the target location for 3 seconds. While in the storm, enemies take 167 damage per second, increasing for 10% each consecutive instance of damage up to 50%. It'll also show how long it's been out, and when it hits the edge, it will disappear. So the more you're dealing damage to someone, the more it deals, and it can be a really powerful tool for if we just cast this. It is a quick 800 damage. So even though it says 167, 3 seconds, it'll come out to be about 800 damage on a single target. If you put it onto 2 targets, it should be a little bit more than that as well, but 1600 damage. So as long as it gets its damage off on a single target, it should be about 800 damage on the targets it goes to. 8-second cooldown, 7-second cooldown. So the goal would be to slow them and then try to get that out. But because this doesn't have a cast time and this does, you might want to even do this one first and then slow them in it. So it'll look like this. And that would be most likely the combo. And while they're even slowed and all of that, you could also auto attack. So a full combo of basic abilities with just these would look something like this. And then you would auto attack, and you'd be able to get just a few bit of damage off. So 1800 damage on a single target without any talents is not bad. And then finally, we have Force Wall, 21-second cooldown, and it is on a basic ability now, so you can use it as early as level 1. I think a 21-second cooldown is very short for a basic ability on this, but it does remove one of your basic abilities. And so I guess you don't have the escape that you used to, and you're going to have to use Force Wall as an escape. It's not as annoying as like the old Force Wall used to be. So I think it's pretty cool that it's on a basic ability now, because it's going to be great if you want to do something like this and burn him down before the wall disappears. And there you go. You could combo all of your abilities, do about half of someone's health without talents. That is not bad, and that is a really powerful combo for a mage. Force Wall, I'm going to give a quick tip to people that don't know. Let's refresh forts really quick. And if people are ever running away into their base, don't forget that you can just use a quick Force Wall here, and now they can't enter through either direction, and that you have a good amount of time that you can kill them. Two full seconds that your team can kill them. So whenever people are running away, don't forget to force wall off small zones like this one or this one. They are very, very valuable. Don't just use it as an open wall. Try to use the other areas that are in the map. With that being said, let's get into the talents. Level 1. The first quest, Static Charge. Heroes hit by Shockwave permanently increase its damage by 4, granting 33% Resonant Beam charge. And a maximum of 200 bonus damage. So it does currently level 20, 614 damage. It can get up to 814 damage, assuming that you get that stack. And granting some Resonant Beam charge is going to make that combo a lot more deadly. Because again, if you are going to be using that combo where you're doing EWQ, you're going to automatically have 30% and starting off the fight with a decent chunk more of damage. That'll move all the way up to that 100%, and it's going to be a really valuable way to get some of your mana back too, because charging it up faster means that your auto attacks are going to be giving more mana. Remember that you don't need to be attacking minions to charge this or to get your mana back. Or sorry, you don't need to be attacking heroes. You can attack mercs or minions to get your mana back as well. Psi Infusion. Increase the range of Psionic Storm by 33%. Each non-structure enemy hit by this will restore mana and increased against heroes. So you'll be able to gain a lot of mana back on minion waves, and you'll be able to gain a lot of mana back during team fights. I'm going to say right now, I don't think Tassadar is going to have a lot of mana problems. His mana costs are relatively low, and a lot of what he does gives mana back. So I'm not too worried about that. And then finally, this is an auto attack one. Resonance Beam charges 50% faster. After Resonance Beam has been fully charged for 80 seconds, it bounces to hit one additional target for 50% damage, prioritizing heroes. Reward. After the Resonance Beam has been fully charged for 160 seconds, it bounces to hit 2 additional heroes for 50% damage. So it adds your level 20 bounce talent into a quest, which is really, really nice for that. Let's move on to the level 4 talents. Induction. Shock Ray grants movement speed. So you gain movement speed, increased 15% to 30 seconds. If an enemy hero is hit, it goes to 25%. Now we have Force Wall deals damage and slows, which I actually talked about this with McIntyre about the rework of Tassadar, that possibly he could have wall that deals damage, because if you catch someone out of position, you can kind of deal damage to them as they're trying to get around it. And then finally we have Plasma Shield. Good lord, this was McIntyre's recommendation for this. When it's fully charged, oh no, this isn't, we had it based off of the Q. So when it's fully charged, you gain a shield equal to 3% of max health every second, stacking up to 15%. So if you're standing still for a long time, you're going to be able to also be building this shield that's going to make you harder to kill. And we talked about this, that if you were shifting him to a mage, he should still probably have his shield or some mechanic version of it. The only downside about this shield versus the other one is this one doesn't heal you. So while you're building a shield, you're not actually gaining any life back. Which is going to still make you at risk. I mean, a big 15% shield while standing still is beneficial, because if you don't take this, it's very risky to be standing still for so long. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to take Electric Fence just because I want to see what it looks like. Yeah, so it's just a shocky fence. Not bad. Alright, level 7, Beam Alignment. While Resonant Beam is fully charged, Tassadar's basic attack range is increased by 1, and Shock Ray's cooldown refreshes 100% faster. So this is a challenging one, because you want to take this for your Q, but at the same time, you don't want to be standing still too often with your Q. It seems like your Q should be use this, move forward. Use this, gain movement speed. And now you have to auto attack. So I guess it's going to be use a Q, reposition with the extra movement speed, attack with the bonus charge, and then use this to continue shocking people. Shock Ray creates a Psionic Storm on hero's hit. So casting Psionic Storm causes your next Shock Ray within 3 seconds to only cost 30 mana and create a Psionic Storm on the first enemy hero hit. So you get to apply 2 of these. So if we were to take this, use this, and then use this, we apply a second one, but it appears that it has the same rules of the previous one, so you won't be actually doing any more damage. So if I was to do this alone, it would be 800. If I was to do this alone, it'll be 600. So the equal of these should be around 1700 damage if it's just those 2 abilities. So the second Psionic Storm isn't really going to be... Oh, I hit this guy. It's not going to be really that worth it because they don't stack. So you'll want to try to hit someone and then hit someone that moves. So for example, you'd want to do something like this where let's say the first one is my original one, and then you can get a bigger zone with it. But otherwise, or you could try to hit it at the end of the W so it just lasts longer. So for example, let it go for a bit and then you hit it with that. And now it just lasts a lot longer in that zone and you can get a lot more damage off. But overall, it does not stack. Just keep that in mind. Arc Discharge. When Resonance Beam is fully charged, its next instance of damage also creates a Psionic Storm on the target. This effect is a 20-second cooldown that decays twice as fast while Resonance Beam is fully charged. So let's reset talents for a second, and let's just throw in the auto attack talents because I am curious to see what these do. Let's complete the quest, and I just want to see... We're standing still, and it gets fully charged, so it applies a shock, and this goes on a cooldown. And it should be going twice as fast for as long as it's charging. And then it'll apply another one. And then you can apply one. And then you can put a wall. And then you can do a laser. And then you can go back to shocking things. And you have this big shield that stays on you for quite a while. So that is that's an idea. That's interesting. And then we have Archon. So... What Archon does now is you can transform, you gain a shield equal to 40% of your max health, you empower Resonant Beam, and then Resonant Beam deals 329 damage to the target and splashes to nearby enemies. Heroes hit have their spell armor reduced. Resonant Beam is fully charged while Archon is active. So you just have a charged up beam. Let's take a peek at what it does. We activate Archon. And we are just having a fully charged one. We can still stutter step. We can do what we want. And man, that Archon looks really cool in this skin. And you can just really burn through stuff. You still get that extra shield from your other talents. So it's actually not bad. I thought it was going to be really bad in this talent because you don't get like the bounce. But it's actually not bad in this talent area. The other ultimate that you have from this, let's just throw in talents really quick, is Black Hole. After 0.5 seconds, create a black hole that travels in a long line. Enemy heroes within this are quickly pulled towards its center. Touching the center deals 680 damage and stuns them. This seems pretty insane. It depends on how slow this actually moves. So let's send it out in this direction where I'm not hitting anyone directly and see what it does. Slow moving, pulls them. Wow. This actually seems kind of insane. I wonder how this is going to work with a, if we combined the wall with it. So we can keep one person near us and stun everyone else in their team. That's really, really powerful. You'd want to use a wall so you can catch a couple people and send the other ones flying away. This would definitely almost always want to be comboed with a wall, or else everyone's going to fly away from you and you can't chase them down. But if you get good at this, the amount of utility in this is going to be absolutely insane for taking out one person, stunning the rest of their team, and pulling them away from your team. So this is a huge ultimate ability. I mean, I can't even say how powerful this is actually going to be. This is going to be insane. I mean... to 8,000 damage in a course of a small combo. Absolutely insane. Tons of potential with this ability, and it's going to be... I'm going to say it's going to be kind of similar to Horrify, because you're going to be... Horrify sends everyone flying in different directions. This is going to pull some of the people away from the team, and it's going to stun the ones that are close to you. It'll immediately pull some close to you, then you wall down, and then you're going to send people away. You just need to... It's going to take a lot of practice to get the timing of the wall down, because that one can slide through it. So you'll likely want to... But even if you only pull like one or two people forward and you stun everyone else, you just want to team fight off of just doing a regular combo that's not too difficult to do. So this is, again, kind of how it's going to be wanting to be played out, is something like this. And you could easily melt through people. So I really, really like that ultimate ability. I think it's very powerful. I think that's actually going to be the meta one now. Archon is very powerful, and it's great if you just need that sustained damage, but I really think Black Hole is going to be game-changing. Level 13, Feedback. Sonic Storm enhances Resonance Beam. When enemies are affected by a Sonic Storm, the slow is increased and it reduces physical armor. So that took two talents that were just not picked that often, and they combined it into one. It's pretty powerful, and it's going to be a great talent. Shadow Walk. Tassadar becomes stealthed, unrevealable, and cannot be attacked or used abilities for 1.5 seconds. While this is on, you gain movement speed and armor. This is his escape. This is the old Tassadar E, and now it is an activatable that will go to your 1 key. And then we have Oracle. While stationary, you gain 30 spell armor, restore health, and you're going to be... You activate to channel for up to 4 seconds, revealing and gradually increasing the area anywhere on map. So he has both of his old things, but now you have to choose. Do you want the vision, or do you want the escape? I think for 90% of the time, people are going to be taking the escape. I think in lower ranks, people are going to be taking feedback. In higher ranks, people are going to be taking the escape. And in competitive, people are going to be taking Oracle. But with it being able to restore health per second and give spell armor, this could also be a decent tool for putting him in the solo lane. He has a bunch of sustainable things. The only problem is gaining your health sustain at level 13 in the solo lane is way too late. But yeah, so if we do this, Oracle gradually increases in range, revealing more and more and more. And it does have a 45-second cooldown. Yeah, so outside of competitive, I don't see this getting any use. I would imagine Shadow Walk in the highest ranks, Feedback in the regular ranks. But yeah, so that's going to be that. Level 16. Level 16 is usually when most heroes get their big power spike. It's the tier that you normally want to force fights if you have 16s the opposing team doesn't, because a lot of heroes get something that's an average of 30% increased damage, or it's a lot more utility when it comes to tanks or supports. But usually it's a lot more damage. This is the point where tanks need to start being afraid, because this is the talent tier where you can start killing tanks. With that being said, the Q build, Thermal Lance, is going to be able to do 8% of maximum health as it damages the first hero that it hits. So only the first hero. Speaking of tanks being destroyed. Psychic Shock. Psionic Storm deals damage 25% faster, meaning that it should also be doing 25% more damage, but it'll also stack faster, so it'll get its damage off quicker. And then finally, Executor's Will. Cooldown 40 seconds. Activate to gain full Resonant Beam charge, 15% spell power, and cause basic and heroic abilities cooldowns to regenerate 25% faster. This effect lasts as long as Resonant Beam remains fully charged. That is unreal, because if you can just auto-attack minions, you can keep it fully charged and lower the cooldown of Black Hole. So 25% cooldown reduction, and because it doesn't work that way, it would actually be a 12.5% cooldown reduction. So if we were to pull out calculator, it would be 70 times, what is it, 8.7 or 0.875. So you'll have a 61-second cooldown. So maybe that's not as insane as I thought, because remember, it regenerates 25% faster, not that it's going to have a 25% lower cooldown. So like skills like Icy Veins, where it increases, or it causes your abilities to regenerate 200% faster, it doubles the rate that your cooldowns are recharging. So 25% faster is not even a 1.4, it's a 1.8. So that's not really that great. It sounded cool. It's not really that great. The spell power is great, and it instantly gives you your beam. But I think what would be better is to probably go in the other... I mean, as auto attack build has no downside in doing this, because you're going to be auto attacking all the time. But the other builds likely won't. And so now we finally have the level 20 tier. Tassadar has been known since the beginning of the game to have one of the biggest level 20 talent tier spikes that you could ever see. He became an unkillable force, because he would be doing Archon damage, he would be doing splash damage, and his Q would give him increased lifesteal on his attack. So when you do an AoE attack with Archon, you would likely gain a good chunk of about 40% of your health back. Making Twilight Archon at level 20 having your Archon last forever meant that you were an unkillable force for a never-ending period of time, allowing you to win just about any team fight where you didn't get bursted down. It was hard to burst you down because you would reset the cooldown of your escape. So his level 20 was always known for being extremely powerful. Let's see if they continue that up. Twilight Archon continues to have the same effect. Remember, though, Twilight Archon will no longer be able to heal you while you are in Twilight Archon, meaning that you will not have that ability. You will be able to gain 15% of your health as shield if you did take this, but otherwise, that is all you're going to be able to get from Twilight Archon is a longer Twilight Archon. You can't get that lifesteal anymore. Cudgel Blitz. Cudgel Blitz is each hero hit by Black Hole's center creates a psionic storm in their location. It's going to be pretty powerful just because you're going to be pulling people. But remember, you're already likely going to have a couple psionic storms there. So, and they don't stack. So this actually likely won't be the talent that you pick up if you go Black Hole, because you're already going to have W's there. I mean, it will be nice to like hit their entire team with damage, but it's not going to be nice at bursting down the few people that you're already focusing down. Force Barrier. Increase the duration of Force Wall by 0.5 seconds, its range by 50%, and reduce its cooldown by 10%. Allows your wall to be a little bit more annoying without it being like that level 20 Force Wall annoying, but this will still be very, very powerful. So put it at an 11-second cooldown, as well as this will increase its range so it's easier to cut people off, and it will make it a 2.5-second duration. And then finally we have Kala's Gift. Nearby allies grant and gain spell power. So gain 4% spell power for yourself for each nearby ally, and gain 20% total spell power. Your total bonuses is shared with all contributing ally. So, so let's see what this actually does. So if there's no one near me, we don't gain anything. If I'm near, let's add Ana really quick. And I also have Spell Armor, which is... I don't know what it's from, though. Doesn't matter what it's from. Okay, so I'm near someone. So I should be able to gain 4 spell power. Okay, so I have 8 spell power. I guess I count as someone. And she has... Or no, she has 8 spell power, and I have 8 spell power. Making it to where it will give 20% to you and your allies if you're all grouped up. I don't know what Ana is doing. Oh, she's helping with a camp. New AI. I forgot about that. Alright, so just gives a bunch of spell power. That's a pretty good option. So let me get into the possibility of builds, guys. This is going to be relatively straightforward compared to other heroes. So starting off, there's going to be a Q build. Q build is going to be a build that is all about your Shock Ray. You're going to be taking this to increase the damage of your Shock Ray and to be building a bit of Resonance Charge. Then you're going to be taking the increased movement speed that's going to allow you to reposition after you use Shock Ray, because you're going to be standing still long enough that you're going to need that movement speed to reposition. Finally, Beam Alignment allows you to refresh your Shock Ray 100% faster as long as you are basic attacking, and while it's fully charged. It's going to be easier to fully charge because you're going to be getting 30% of your charge when you hit people. And then finally, being in a Shock Ray build, most likely you are going to want to cluster people together so you can hit them with big Shock Rays. So Black Hole would be very, very valuable. And I would imagine that's going to be more valuable than going into the other one. At this point, because you're going to be repositioning a lot, you can go in really any direction. There's nothing at this tier that gives you Shock Ray value. So most likely you'll be taking Shadow Walk. And then at this point, you'll want to grab Thermal Lance. Your cooldown's going to be low, and you want to be able to melt the tank very, very quickly, because this is going to be high burst damage to backliners, but not quite to the front line. Now you're going to have that option to do a lot of damage to the front line. And then finally, at this level, because you won't be spawning any extra Ws, you can go with Cudgel Blitz, but most likely I would like to be as annoying as possible or get as much spell power as possible. So I would say it's one of these two would be the best options for this. Because Force Wall is going to to spread people out like this and you want them spread out in a line, I probably won't be going with a whole bunch of force walls. I would be going with probably Kala's Gift so that I can get some burst in here. And let's complete the quest. And what this would look like is, for a regular engage, you would probably start off with a wall and then just hit with a shock ray and do some auto attacks to try to get your cooldown off lower. You can always shock ray to slow them down, reposition with the movement speed, and then hit them once again to lower the cooldown of shock ray. Oh, let's turn off toggle cooldowns. Try to keep it 100%, use shock ray, reposition, and you're just going to be tagging people to keep your shock ray cooldown low, and you'll be able to do about 500 DPS in this build to a single target, assuming that target is a tank, while also being able to do AoE damage. So that's a pretty decent sustained DPS when you have at any point a combo to do something like this and melt through an entire team doing about 2,000 DPS in small bursts. So, and then you also have the ability to still use your 1 to get out of fights. This seems to be like a pretty well-rounded, easy-to-play build as long as you can keep your Resonance Beam going for a long portion of time and you stay near your team. This could be adjusted in this talent tier, and it could be adjusted in this talent tier, but the rest of the talents are pretty straightforward that you're going to want to go for Q build. The next option would be going into W build. W build seems like the old way of thinking where it's just, okay, let's take all the W talents. But W build is a huge zone control tool. You're going to be taking that first, and you're likely going to be taking Electric Fence because every single fight you're going to be using the E to lock them in place, and then the Q to slow them, and the W to do a lot of DPS. In short bursts, you can do, I mean, a full Assassin's health in that combo without using an ult. So that seems very powerful. You're going to be taking Psychic Echo so that you can have that last a little bit longer, but you could safely take other things here if you wanted to as well. I almost think Arc Discharge might be just as good. Both of these get you more Psionic Storms, but this one gives you actually, so you don't need to hit them immediately. You could wait on this as well. It's just within 3 seconds. So I don't know. I think either of these would work. I think this is going to be the more reliable one, though. And then at this tier, because you are, I mean, you're going to be pulling people together, you're going to want to combo that. So I would say Black Hole for this build as well. Just because you're going to be comboing with your abilities. So that's really what you're going to be looking at with that. Psionic Storm enhances Resonance Beam. I would say this is pretty decent if you're going to be working with your team on like locking people together. This will give you more reliable like walls because they're going to be slowed getting shocked on both sides from this. So it's going to look something like this where you are going to wall WQ, and then you're going to auto attack while their movement speed is slowed the whole duration. So again, you can take out an assassin pretty easily by taking this, but most likely you're going to be taking Shadow Walk in higher ranks here. And then level 16, you need this. This talent is going to be huge. It's going to be amazing for taking people out. And again, these short combos, remember, it's been almost enough to kill an assassin with Tassadar's health. Now it's going to look like this. And now, right about there, it's going to end. And now I mean, it's just a teeny bit of damage more, and you'd be able to take someone out. And I keep ending it right as the W ends, but most likely you'll be able to have a longer range to hit them from for more often. So you will be able to 100-0 an assassin as early as level 16 whenever your wall is available. So that's something that's really, really powerful, seeing as your wall range is pretty decent, and then your follow-up range is relatively easy to hit as well. So overall, I think this is going to be a huge thing. Right as you hit 16, you can pretty much blow up someone out of position every time. And then level 20, this is up to you. In this build, I would go Force Barrier almost any time because you are able to 100-0 someone. Now watch how it is when it lasts a little bit longer. And while it's lasting longer, look what happens. Boom. Very easy to take them out this time. And the other thing that's great about this is your cooldown is low enough. You can 100-0 someone about every, I don't even know. And we can also make sure that the second Q is a little bit later. But you can 100-0 someone about every 11 seconds, making this extremely powerful. One person gets caught out of position, you 100-0 them. During a team fight, you're just going to full combo. So this person dies for sure, and if you caught 2 people in line, then you kill 2 people with that. So this is going to be a busted build. Very, very powerful, but rather boring, as it's very similar to just like a more magey version of his old self. And finally, the last build that we're going to be seeing is the auto attack build. High damage to multiple targets, big shields to keep you alive, psionic storms for free, and then likely Archon so that you can reposition in fights that are getting a little too mobile. So fights that are standing still, you don't activate Archon. Fights that are moving, you're going to pop Archon, and you'll be able to move around. It doesn't really matter at this point. I would recommend, I mean, slowing them, increasing physical damage would be huge, so most likely this would be the talent, because you're going to be using your ult to reposition. You're going to have a little bit more survivability. So likely you're going to be going with this so that you can do more damage. And then finally you're going to take Executor's Will so you can get that, let's refresh forts. Executor's Will so that you can have extra spell power and just get your cooldowns off a little bit faster. So at this point, you can go with Twilight Archon, but I would say since you're auto-attacking a bunch, more shields would be, or more barriers would be so much better. So I would actually probably just take Force Barrier in this situation, and Twilight Archon's cool, but your DPS outside of Twilight Archon is going to be insane. So it's going to look kind of like this. The majority of the fights you're going to, let's complete quests, because by level 20 you're going to have your quests done. So most likely you're going to just wall off their team into 2 separate groups, and you're just going to go like this. Slow them down where you can. You'll pop Executor's Will and just run this ability as long as you have it. I wish there was an indicator here, because your goal is to keep this going and just continue walling people off. Your cooldown is going to be rather low of your wall because you've got Executor's Will going and you have the reduced cooldown. So this is going to be one of the highest DPS specs of them. You're going to have less burst and less team fight utility, but oh man, if you're stuck on a point, you are going to be able to melt people down and constantly walling off the enemy team. So overall, this is a really, really powerful build if you just need a DPS and if you're on a map that requires you to fight on a point for a long period of time. This will be picked up for Volskaya. This will be picked up for Sky Temple, anything that'll require you to sit on those points for a long time and just melt people down, constantly walling them off, and you'll have your Executor's Will going almost the entire time. A really powerful build. I really think that a lot of his builds are going to be map specific and it's going to be play specific. Q build to me at the moment seems like the easiest one to play, but also probably one of the weaker ones as far as damage potential. Then I think the auto attack one is probably gonna be the second easiest to play. The only reason is it's probably easier to play, but you're likely to get blown up a little bit easier. So you're gonna need to be very smart at when you need to reposition, when you need to pop your ult, and when you need to use your wall. And then finally, I think the competitive build most likely will be that W build. As early as level 4, I mean, really, as early as level 1, you can set up a combo that does about 50% of someone's health and locks them in place to where your team has a higher chance of getting a kill. As early as level 16, you can 100 to 0 someone while they're stuck on the other side of a wall. And as early as level 20, you can 100 to 0 someone every 10 seconds while still having the ability to have an amazing team fight. So the competitive build, I would say, is the W build, while the other 2 builds are probably very close in comparison. But all of that being said, this is the new Tassadar. Thank you guys so much for watching this long video to explain all the talents, all the abilities, and 3 potential builds. I think as far as a meta hero goes, he is extremely powerful right now. I think that he's got a ton of utility, a ton of setup. His one downside is that he doesn't have an escape, which can be mitigated as early as level 13. And he can use his wall as an escape for earlier fights. But otherwise, I think that he's going to be a powerful mage to add to the roster, someone that I'm going to start playing once again quite a bit. I'm kind of glad that he's moved away from just being a backpack hero to other heroes. This is a time where they can finally look at someone like Tracer and Vala and go, okay, well, maybe if we answer all these backpack heroes, we can actually eventually buff them to where they feel like better heroes on their own. And this is a time where they can maybe do that, because what happens is when Tassadar and Malfurion got buffed, they had to nerf Tracer, Genji, Malfurion. Sorry, not Malfurion. Well, he did get nerfed because of that as well. But and a bunch of other divey heroes that had low health bars. So maybe with them reworking people like Tassadar and possibly a mini rework to Malfurion, we can start seeing buffs to heroes to where we don't need these two people combos anymore. And instead we have stronger heroes individually that have more play potential. So I really think that's a cool option, and I like Tassadar. I think he's an awesome hero, and to have this assassin capabilities, he does feel more like a High Templar now. So I certainly will be playing a lot more of Tassadar, and he'll get back to being my #1 played hero after this rework. He may be seeing some nerfs after he comes out, just because I'm looking at some of the damage potential. While it is healable, he has the wall alone on a support hero is one thing, but to have this potential on an assassin is very, very impactful, and it's gonna be really difficult to deal with, especially with this level 4 talent that makes people want to walk away from them. But if you walk away from the wall, what's happening is this. You wall off this area, and suddenly they have to walk back into your team, and then they die. Or they stay there and take extra damage and you kill them anyways. So it's going to be a really, really weird situation. They can't just move sideways along the wall, because if they move sideways along the wall, they're going to be slowed the entire way and taking damage the entire way. So overall, I think that this is going to be a very, very powerful hero. It's going to be a little difficult to balance. The way that you're going to counter him is jump on him. Pre-level 13, he has no escape, and even after this, he has no way of healing himself back up. So if you can deal damage to him, he's out of the fight. I think a lot of people are going to be a little like worried about attacking Tassadar because they were so used to him being able to use E to get out of the fight, Q to heal himself back up to full, and it was just this never-ending battle. But now he's a lot squishier, a lot easier to deal with. He's just going to be much better at setting up fights than he was before, and much better to follow up his own setups. So that is new Tassadar. Thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to check out any of my other videos, and I hope you guys enjoy this rework, especially this rework video. Let me know what you guys think about new Tassadar in the comments below.